With Kyrsten Sinema running for the Senate, the GOP is hoping to turn this district red after 6 years with a Democrat. And tonight, we meet a candidate who believes this moderate district centered on Tempe is ready to move right. From immigration to Social Security and health care, what she thinks voters are looking for. And across town, a West Valley Democrat puts forth some progressive ideas in what is traditionally a conservative stronghold. It is a race that could help shape the face of the state legislature. All tonight on Politics Unplugged. And good evening, I'm political editor Dennis Welch, and this is Politics Unplugged, and we start tonight with that race for Arizona's Congressional District 9. Now, Kyrsten Sinema has held this seat since it was created back in 2012, but the race is wide open after Sinema announced that she is running for the Senate, and joining us now is a woman who would like to see that seat, that district, I should say, send a Republican to Congress, and she is Irina Baroness Von Behr, and I want to thank you very much for being here. And first of all, I just want to, give us a brief introduction to who you are and your life story and why you're running for politics.
Basically, I'm running for Congress because just like our forefathers, when it comes to a time that your country needs you and maybe an unusual group is needed to make some changes. We started off in this country with people. One was a silversmith, another person a brewer, and yet they came with all their qualities together, and they went against a giant with no money, and yet they were able to overcome England and start this country. And myself, as a biracial candidate, I think that I bring to the table something which we need now for this country, which is unity, being able to work across the aisle and bring everybody back together.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're not going to be, taking on England or anything like that, but you do have to take on Greg Stanton. He is the former mayor of Phoenix. He's a well-known name, well-known commodity, in this area. How do you seek and how do you hope to overcome that name recognition?
Well, basically, I ran for city council in Tempe, so I do have a little recognition. I ran in 2016, and unlike a lot of other candidates, I knocked on over 12,000 doors to get my signatures. So basically, I'm out there talking to people in my district and getting to know people in my district.
Yeah, and looking at your website, it was pretty interesting. Now, one of the top issues that you say is facing the country isn't what a lot of people would think right now. A lot of people are talking about health care or immigration or the economy. You think it's sex trafficking, child sex trafficking. Can I explain that? Why you think that's the top issue?
Okay. You have to understand, my father was black, my mother Czechoslovakian, white, and slavery is now back in this country. We are #1 in the world with slavery. Now, trafficking, human trafficking is a fancy word for slavery. And when you have children being trafficked, that is the epitome of the worst thing you could ever have. The cartels are doing about $32 billion a year off of the backs of our children that we know of. And this is huge. Nobody's talking about this. I've been dealing with this a few years, and I want to put an end to this.
Okay. And there is another issue involving children. Those are children being separated, migrant children being separated at the border.
Yes.
Do you support this policy? This is a policy being pursued by the president, a Republican, the leader of your party.
Okay. Basically, let's be quite frank and honest. This policy was not originally Trump's policy. And as a woman and as somebody fighting for children, I do not agree that we separate children from families. I mean, come on, this is a bit absurd, and they are not in cages either. So what we need to do is...
What do you mean they're not in cages?
Well, and they're pointing out as if they're in little cages. And, children are not in little cages, but children need to be with their parents. We shouldn't be separating children from our parents.
Okay. So
I mean, this is the whole thing. We need to start working on better immigration policies and better policies dealing with kids.
So
do you realize how many children are brought across the border and some are abandoned? I mean, this is horrendous.
Yeah. Are you calling on the president then, or would you call on the president if you were elected then to end this policy?
Yes. Everybody, I would think, that has some common sense would say, look, we need to do something that doesn't hurt children.
Okay, and another key issue of the president, the border wall. Do you support funding for the border wall as he's been asking for?
Okay, basically I have an out-of-the-box answer to that, and I've sent the president an email, and somehow I've never gotten a response back on this. I think the easiest way of getting the wall put up and additional drones and whatever we need, horses, men, endless. And we're not just talking about one border. We're talking about, we have more than one border. We have also Canada. So why don't we have a lottery like the Powerball to constantly support this? So we're not forcing taxpayers who do not want to be involved with this to pay or fund this. And then we're not always going to Congress and saying, hey, let's have a vote on this. Right now, we can't get Congress to agree on what they're going to put in their coffee.
So basically a Powerball lottery for entry into the United States.
I think that would be, come on. He was in the business of putting in casinos. Why doesn't he look at this? I've talked to some of the lottery groups, and they said it's feasible.
Sure. You've talked to lottery groups about this. Okay.
Yes. Why don't we do this?
Okay. Okay. I want to move on. Another thing we're seeing big this week is this trade war. You know, the president has put tariffs on you know, goods and services coming from various countries. Looks like there is a trade war with China, the two largest economies in the world, engaging in this. Would you support the president and further tariffs on China, other countries? Okay.
Well, first of all, you have to realize that anytime you have trade agreements, has to go through Congress, and there's only so much the president can do. And China has been really unbalancing things. All you have to do is go out and lift something up. You go to a restaurant or whatever, made in China, made in China, made in China. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, so basically, I think sometimes we should just try to open all options before we go out with too crazy of a war, and make sure we get our allies on side.
Okay, and we're starting to run out of time, but so I want to ask you this. I want to get this question in. Last question here. You know, the Affordable Care Act. I mean, do you support replacing it? Do you support getting rid of it, or would you like to keep it in place?
You're gonna love this one. I want to see more of a European and Canadian health care for everybody. All right. Now, you heard that from a Republican. And the reason why I say we need that, I have traveled most of my life. I was 30 years a flight attendant. I've traveled abroad, and I know it works. They say it doesn't. That's lies. We need to also regulate the pharmaceutical companies. When I knock on doors and people cannot afford their insulin, that's horrendous. We need a healthcare system that works for everybody, that's affordable. Small businesses, if they have 40 employees or less, are paying anywhere from $1,500 to $3,500 a month for premiums. That puts them out of business. That is bad for this country.
All right. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this segment, but thank you very much for stopping by. But we do have more here on Politics Unplugged just ahead. Up next, a progressive Democrat looking to make headway in a conservative West Valley district. And is bucking party leadership the best way to get elected to the U.S. Senate?
Well, I don't vote for leadership.
Why? You don't vote for leadership. Why? Well, Kyrsten Sinema, and we'll get an answer from Kyrsten Sinema still just ahead as we look at Sinema and the establishment here on Politics Unplugged.
A major U.S. airline bans pit bulls. They just had a recent incident where a pit bull attacked 2 of their employees. My inbox on Facebook was overwhelmed.
Owners upset.
A dog is as good as you train it.
Fearful other companies will follow.
They are changing minds.
All over the country where they instituted those bans, they're being overturned left and right.
Brandon Lee breaks down the debate.
To seek the facts, to seek the truth.
Thursday at 9 on 3 TV.
Car wreck? Check. Motorcycle wreck? Check. Truck wreck? Check. Bicycle wreck? Check. UFO wreck? What? In a wreck, you need a check. Call Lerner Road now for a free consultation.
Call 977-1900.
Would you believe this is a time machine?
Yeah, sure.
Close your eyes. And let's go back.
Witness for the Bill of God.
Let's do this again tomorrow. Same time?
Anytime you like, sweetheart.
Bluebell ice cream. The best part of moments you remember and ones you look forward to.
Instead of going to school every morning, what if school could come to you? Because learning happens anywhere and everywhere. K-12 powered schools provide a tuition-free, full-time, online public school education taught by state-certified teachers.
It's public school at home.
K-12's curriculum is designed to engage students, to challenge them. So visit K12.com today. Tuition-free in Arizona.
It's the 4th of July sale at Mattress Firm, and our best offer has been extended through Tuesday. Right now, get a free adjustable base with your mattress purchase. Up to a $699 value, free. Plus, all of our beds are on sale, with mattresses starting at just $9 a month. Our lowest payments ever with 0% interest for 72 months. Pay as little as $9 a month and get a free adjustable base. Hurry in, this sale ends Tuesday. Your budget stretches further at Mattress Firm.
You made this vacation happen, cleverly merging promotions,
Double points with every purchase,
and cross-referencing travel sites. Aloha! If you can ace your vacation, you can do it for retirement. Get on track with tips at aceyourretirement.org.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. We move on to another race now. This is the West Valley Legislative District 22 is traditionally Republican, but last week I sat down with Brianna Westbrook, a Democrat, looking to shake things up. Thank you very much for joining us here today. And I want to start with a little bit of your backstory, is that you'd never really been in politics at all until, earlier in the year when you decided to jump into the race to replace former Congressman Trent Frank. So just briefly explain why was someone with no political experience would jump into such a high-profile race in their very first political run.
Well, I'm in this to create change for people, and I saw that as the best opportunity for me to create the most amount of change effectively for the people of Arizona and send a message to the entire country that Arizona is changing, and we indeed are a purple state, and there is a place in the political system for everybody to participate.
Now, ultimately you lost in the primary in that race, but what lessons did you learn from that experience?
Well, I learned a lot. I learned the lessons of networking and listening to constituents, something our current representatives on multiple levels, both state and federal, don't do. Listening to concerns of constituents and the things that they'd like to be addressed. Yeah, and after that primary loss, you did say that you were going to challenge the Democrat in that congressional district again, but ultimately you decided to run for a different office. Yeah, I didn't, pledge to run against her. I did tell Cronkite News in that interview that I'm going to do what's best for the Democratic Party. And I decided to take the momentum that we had from that race because we ran a very, very aggressive campaign. Achieved almost 40% of the vote against 10-to-1 spending, which is outstanding for somebody with no political history like mine. But this way, we can work in parallel with one another. Legislative District 22 is the largest legislative district in Congressional District 8. By working in unity with my former primary opponent, we can really set the tone and help elect Democrats down ballot. Yeah. And speaking about setting the tone now, what is your top priority when you get into the State House, if you get into the State House? You've talked about a lot of issues this past year. What's number one on the agenda? Number one is ending corporate welfare. We have a tax code that's riddled with corporate tax loopholes that is depriving Arizona of desperate funding for things like education and healthcare and infrastructure. Those are my 3 pillars of my platform. We need to lead. Arizona should be #1 in education. If we want to bring people to Arizona and actually have jobs of the future, we need to have an educated society. And we need to make sure that we pay our teachers a living wage, reduce our class sizes, and in this system we have in place for corporations.
The governor's promised a 20% pay raise for teachers. Not enough, you say?
Not enough. Not enough. I'd like to see us invest in a lot of different layers of our education system. I'd like to make sure that our teachers are paid well, not average. I'd like to see them above average, because right now we are at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to funding for our education, and it's downright embarrassing.
Yeah. How do you pay for all of that, though?
Closing these corporate tax loopholes. Okay. We have over 200 total. You know, if you followed Steve Farley's race, he talks about the 4-inch pipe tax loophole, which is ridiculous.
They've talked about that for a number of years.
Yeah, yes. And you know, and it's just one after another. We lose millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars, but what you're talking about is billions of dollars.
Yeah, yeah, it's insane.
And loopholes is not going to raise billions and billions of dollars. So how do you come up with all this money?
Well, there's other things too that I'd like to implement that we can actually generate revenue. One would be municipal broadband, a public option in the internet service. I'd like to see us do that. That we start bringing in revenue, and we can hold, you know, Cox and CenturyLink accountable for their price gouging and throttling our internet access. A public option internet, we can create off revenue bonds, and we can actually create revenue for that.
Okay, and so tax increase. It sounds like you might need to do a tax increase to raise the kind of revenue.
I'd like to make sure that our wealthy pay their fair share, because currently they're not, and it's shown that they haven't. Just look at our roads and look at our education system. It's one example after another that they're not paying their fair share. It's time that the working class stand up and fight back, and that's what I'm doing.
Okay, so maybe a tax on the top income earners.
Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
Talking about 1%, the top 5%, the top 20%. What are we talking about?
Absolutely. If you make over $250,000 a year, which is nobody in Legislative District 22, our average income there is a little over $55,000. So you know, you make $250,000 a year. Let's raise the bar on taxes. Let's make sure you pay your fair share. Let's end the corporate welfare. Let's make sure that you are paying what you should be paying.
Now, on the campaign trail in the congressional race, you talked a lot about basically free college for everyone. Is this something that you are continuing to hammer on? Is it something you would continue to pursue at the State House level?
Absolutely, because it goes back to what I mentioned in the beginning of this interview. Is if we want to create jobs of the future, we need to make sure that we have an educated society. We need to make sure that we have the most educated workforce possible, and by doing a 2-year program at local community colleges, we can actually teach people the trades that they need to learn to be active members of our society, bringing in income and creating the jobs of tomorrow.
Okay, and let's move on to another topical issue, always a topic here in Arizona: immigration. What kind of plans would you like to see pursued? What kind of policies would you pursue in the State House?
Well, it's a federal issue here at the State House, but
the state it does a lot of stuff with like border strike force. It puts up a lot of money for things like that. The governor has sent the National Guard down to the border to help.
Well, I definitely don't think we should be sending our National Guard down to the border. We have the lowest border crossing since 1971. Let's not believe the rhetoric that 45's preaching out from Twitter. So that's wasted revenue. That's wasted tax dollars. We need to be investing money into our education system. Like I said, that's our prime focus right now. That's what we should be focusing on, because it's in desperation.
Okay, is there anything you can see that to be done on the state level in regards to another big issue, healthcare?
Healthcare? Well, I'd like to see us expand access and protect kids' care, moving it further above the federal poverty level for people that are covered. We shouldn't have people that are not covered by that not have healthcare, because healthcare is a basic human right. So we should be making sure that everybody has access to affordable health care.
Okay. I also want to talk to you, there's another issue that was been brought up recently. We saw an issue in a pharmacy where a pharmacist refused to fill a prescription for a woman who was needed it to, end her pregnancy. It was written by a doctor, refused because of his religious beliefs. It's called the right to refuse law. Arizona is one of 6 states in the country that has that. Would you pursue to repeal that
law? Absolutely, I would work to repeal that. We have numerous laws in our state that are unthinkable. I can't believe that we have them, like our right to work laws and our no promo homo laws in our public schools. These are laws that shouldn't be in effect. We need to work to repeal all of those.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for joining us. That is all the time we have for this segment. But again, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me back, Dennis.
All right. And we have more Politics Unplugged just ahead. Up next, our panel weighs in on the candidates. We'll be right back.
Call Express Flooring for some amazing offers. Why only get 50% off when you can save up to 71% on carpet, tile, wood, laminate, and vinyl plank flooring, including pet and stain-resistant flooring. Plus, Express will even move your furniture for free, and it's all backed by our lifetime installation warranty. The choice is simple. Call Express for these amazing offers.
And you still get a fast, free professional in-home consultation, right?
Yep, but that deal is too hot to last, so call Express Flooring today.
Express Flooring is the best. Call 800-EXPRESS.
At GCU. Private, Christian, affordable, and nonprofit. Visit gcu.edu.
I would never suggest going through the insurance company because they never have your best interests at heart. One call, that's all, and that's all it took. I would definitely refer somebody to learn and enroll.
Call 977-1900.
It's summertime. It's your time. It's the no commitment sale. Now through Thursday, July 12th for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment. You can have a judgment-free summer. Who wouldn't want a clean, friendly place to work out? For $1 down and $10 a month, no commitment, you can do your thing all summer long. Come in today for the no commitment sale. Join in club or online at planetfitness.com.
Join Planet Fitness for only $1 down, $10 a month with no commitment. Now through July 12th.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard serve to give back to their country and communities. Their part-time commitment qualifies them for an array of benefits, such as affordable health and life insurance benefits, education benefits, including tuition assistance, student loan repayment and GI Bill programs, a retirement plan based on part-time service, and VA home mortgages. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about all the benefits available in the Army National Guard.
Get 3TV News anywhere with the all-new AZ Family News app.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. It's now time to talk it out. With us today is Kurt Davis from First Strategic and Catherine Alonzo with Javelina Consulting. Let's start with that CD9 race. Obviously, this has been a Democrat district since it was created. Is it ready to go right? Flip to the red.
Honestly, it would take quite a sea change kind of election. It's going to be a tough district for Republicans.
Yeah, and
it performs Democrat.
Yeah, and you saw the prior segment. Your take on one of the Republican challengers we just interviewed here.
It's Greg Stanton's seat, and I think that no matter who the challengers are, that isn't going to really change.
Okay, now in the second segment, we also talked to somebody who's running the State House in Legislative District 22, the Double Deuce. It has been held up, Greg, David Livingston is running in that district. This has been a traditionally very Republican area. Is this a seat that could be up for grabs this year?
No.
Oh, there you go. Now, explain why. It seems like, you keep hearing there's a lot of stories out there that, Democrats can be taking out some of the seats they thought that, were unchallengeable in the past.
Look, I understand the enthusiasm, and I think Democrats are going to, have a higher, they're going to perform better in turnout than typical, but Republican turnout is also going to be at least at historic levels. And if it does meet that, the numbers in that district get really, really difficult for a Democrat to turn it.
Okay, now I want to stick with politics here in the election. Let's talk a little bit about Kyrsten Sinema. Now, she did make some news this week by announcing that if she was elected, she wouldn't support Chuck Schumer as party leader in the U.S. Senate. Now, I asked her about that during her visit here. Now, here's what she had to say about it.
Well, everyone knows this. I've been calling for change at the national level to ensure that we have not only fresh blood, but that we're electing individuals who represent our shared values as Americans and are helping us achieve common goals in a bipartisan way.
Is this good politics?
it builds into Kirsten Sinema's brand of being independently minded, and I think that's why she's in such a strong position and polling so favorably as she is in the Senate race. And so I think it builds into who she is and who she has always been since being elected.
Yeah, and I'll ask you the same question. I mean, is this good politics in a year like this to be saying, like, I am against the leadership?
Yes, it is, because this is going to be an election where people are saying we're not happy with the status quo. She's trying to inoculate herself from having, quite frankly, Chuck Schumer hung around her neck during the campaign, and she's going to be able to say, I've publicly stated I wouldn't support him. So, yes, it's good politics.
Okay, and we also asked her to, there's this growing movement amongst some Democrats to abolish ICE out there. Now, Sinema says she is totally against this. Again, is this a good story for the line for Democrats out there?
Abolishing ICE?
Yes.
Well, I think it builds into the conversation about needing fundamental reform when it comes to our immigration systems. I think also that what protesters are calling for is a system that is transparent and humane, and I think that is a really good conversation for us to be having.
I'm a huge fan, as a Republican, of the Democrats talking about abolishing ICE. I hope that it is on every TV commercial and every mail piece that comes during the campaign. The public would be appalled with that idea in a general sense. You have to have law enforcement on the border. So this goes into the loony bin category, and I hope that Democrat candidates keep talking about it.
Well, as a Republican then, too, I got to ask you, is this also something you want to also be talking about trade wars? Is this good for the country? Is this good for the president? Are you picking fights?
No, it's a mixed bag, actually. And I realize the pure free trade wing of the Republican Party, and there's a pure free trade wing of the Democrat Party, too. They don't like that. But when you're talking to average voters, people that go to places that manufacture and produce goods, that's a mixed bag. So it depends on how it's handled, how the case is made. It's not just, in my opinion, an easy up or down politics on this one.
I think you're also making an assumption there that ICE is seen favorably by voters at large, and I think with everything we've seen with the separation from kids from their families at the border, I don't know about that. I think that this could be a trending, changing issue and one to watch.
I just know immigration is huge in any poll, and a lot of it has to do, most Americans want a secure border.
Okay. And now I want to finish this conversation up with another big moment this past week. Ballot initiatives were filed this week. Numerous it looks like they're going to be on the ballot. What do you think is the most important one for the coming cycle?
Well, they're all really significant. So the Clean Energy Initiative is going to be incredibly significant. That's going to be a massive battle this year, and could fundamentally change our environmental policy in the state, so that's really important. Outlaw dirty money, looking at money in politics, which of course is huge, and then invest in education. Education is the top issue on the minds of Arizona voters, and so watch all three.
Yeah, and how does this affect the election if these three do get on the ballot?
Actually, I think it could cause the reverse, that we have what are three very progressive or liberal initiatives, and we have a Supreme Court appointment that is going to turn into a giant battle. That, quite frankly, could wake up the Republican Party, those things together, and change the dynamic of the election, not in the way that some of the people want it to change by driving out Democrat or progressive voters. It actually could wake up what has been a fairly lethargic Republican Party.
All right, well, that is all the time we have tonight, but be sure to join us next week for more.